like following that. I mean, bless his heart. We have our own Dr. Robin Fuxa here today. She is a high school graduate of Chandler, uh, also a degree from Oklahoma State in elementary ed. She began her career in elementary ed, then came to Oklahoma State in 2008. If you remember, she resigned in 2024 to run for the Senate, correct? Yes. And then returned, fortunately, in 2025 as director of the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. So, Robin, come on up. Thank you.
If I can get this on. Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, swell. Oh, goodness. Maybe I need to scoot this a little. Is it too loud? Okay, fabulous. All right. Well, friends, just a little bit about me first. I'm so glad to talk about OLLI today. It is an absolute blast for a place to work. I got to teach a class there in 2023, and I thought, oh my gosh, how quickly can I get back? And little did I know that a person doesn't have to be 50 to be part of OLLI. So I think that's really important to know. I was counting down the days until I turned 50, but I didn't have to wait. But a little bit about my family. My husband Barry and I met while I was in that elementary ed program. He was considering certifying to teach. I'm so sorry, that sound is rough. Is that better? Oh yeah, okay. He was considering certifying to teach. He was the only art major in an art methods class we had, and I knew I would need a lot of help. So I sat next to him, and the rest is history. But he worked on campus for about 20 years, and then in career services, if you know that department. And then he's been PR and communications here in the school district for several years, since 2019 now, which is a little bit wild. So if any of you have kids in school, you get a lot of emails from Barry. So, and then our kiddos, Emery is a sophomore here at OSU in the music ed program, go Pokes. And Carver is a sixth grader in the middle school. So he is also in band. We're all about that. So that's a little bit about us. Like I say, my dad's down in Seminole now. We lost my mom this past summer, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to one of the classes. But yeah, the Osher Foundation is a really incredible organization. They started around 2000, and one of the things they wanted to do, they've been giving lots of scholarships, right, and programs across the country, making sure folks had access to higher education. Of course, very critical. But then they said, what do folks over 50 have to do in terms of higher ed? We can certainly audit classes, we can do those kinds of things, but you may not want to do a 16-week class. You may not want to sit in a classroom with undergrads. We need something that's really focused on that 50-plus population, and that is continuing to be our focused population. So they started Oshers across the country, and they started wanting to make sure they had one in every single state. In Oklahoma, they started looking at OU, and folks here, I'll get to a little bit more about that in a minute, and folks went, hello, we can have one here as well, not to be outdone by our friends to the south. So in 75 and 76, though, here at OSU, we had a long history of lifelong learning. Okay, so OSU actually goes back much further than the Osher Foundation in terms of lifelong learning's focus. The Department of Sociology with Dr. Ed Arkwit at that time, lots of you probably know Ed, received an NSF grant for the student originated studies, started Project Intergenerational Living. So folks came to Drummond Hall, lived on campus, worked with undergrads. I believe Steve Irby was one of the students at that time who was interacting with the seniors who lived on campus for a few weeks at a time, took classes. So it was a really cool program for those couple of years. And then Elder Hostel, which is now called Rhodes Scholar, not to be confused with Rhodes Scholars. But they had, for a long duration, about 25 years here under the Arts and Sciences College and Sociology, about 25 years had a week on campus here and there with continued learning opportunities. And then in 2005, Ron Beer at the Emeriti Association said, you know what, we need to keep focusing on this, keep growing our opportunities. So Mona Long formed the Stillwater Academy for Lifelong Learning, and around that time is when the Osher Foundation started looking at Oklahoma and seeing where they were going to position their institute. So Dr. Pam Fry, who was the dean at that time in the College of Ed at that time, said, let's get this going here. So they worked together to get that grant through. Ruth Ann Sturbaugh was one of the authors of that grant and our founding director. So I'm only the third OLLI director at Oklahoma State. We are positioned right now in the Extension and Engagement Office under Dr. Gina Peak in the College of Education and Human Sciences. And that is such a lovely place to work, I've learned. So I've been in that college for about 16 years now. I started in teacher ed there after having been a school library media specialist, like Chris said, and a classroom teacher. So learning is always my focus, always, always, always. I think that every human being has a right to really joyful opportunities to learn. We need to do that for little bitty kiddos, and we need to do it for all the rest of us too. So I think that's what's really lovely about OLLI, is it makes space for that in our lives, which is really a basic human need when we get down to it. So we offer classes in everything. When people say, what are your classes on? I say yes. It really just depends on what your interests are, what you want to see with us. So we have arts, sciences, history, current events, politics, health and wellness, everything you can imagine. And if you don't see it, let me know, because I really want to try to find it for you. My goal is to make the learning you want to pursue accessible for you. So let me know what you'd like to see, because we'll find somebody. One of the beauties of our program is that we're positioned right here in Stillwater. We can pay people mileage to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma City to teach for us. We have online options. There's so much we can do to make what you want to learn about accessible for you. We can go really, really niche, or we can zoom out and think about really broad topics too. So keep that in mind as you think about OLLI. We also have international travel opportunities. We're going to the Canadian Rockies this summer, and in December we'll be headed to Iceland. So there are all kinds of opportunities. We work with Colette Travel for those. You do get a discount as a part of OLLI to do that, so think about those things too. We have some, our membership structures, because of the generosity of the Osher Foundation, are incredibly inexpensive. $200 for the year gets you registration for any of our classes. We have about 50 this spring, to give you some context. We'll have about 50 again in the fall, probably a solid 30, 40 in the summer. So a lot of class opportunities here for $200, no additional charge for your registration. Incredible deal. And then the other structure for that is you can do a la carte if you kind of just want to dip your toe in. If you're really busy with 1,400 other things, as I know most of you are, you can be an a la carte member and just take a couple of classes here and there, $25 a pop. Super easy peasy. But we also have a retiree discount for folks who've retired from Oklahoma State. They get a discount their first year with us, whenever that was, whenever that first year is, rather. So that's something to think about if you've been considering OLLI and you're retired from OSU. We also have a public servant discount as part of our celebration of our 20th anniversary that we were going to celebrate this whole year. But we'll continue this discount in perpetuity. We have that for teachers, first responders, military personnel, and veterans. So those are some great possibilities for you to spread the word on. As I said, we are celebrating this year. This is an incredible chance to think about lifelong learning and all the ways we do that. As adults, I think that's really critical as we think about our well-being. And I'll get to a little bit more about that. But here is Laura Dahlem, who's our local coordinator. There's Gina, who's my supervisor, Dean Peterson, and a whole bunch of OLLI members. You'll recognize some Rotarians here, but we have a really good time. Okay, so when you think about teaching with OLLI, because I know some of y'all have been thinking about teaching with OLLI, and I'm going to keep kind of nudging you. We have some Rotarians who do teach with us, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. But really, we can be very flexible with your course design. Our sessions usually last about 8 weeks, and then it's a couple hours per week. Typically, you can do one session, 2 hours, that's it, or 90 minutes as you prefer, or you can teach for up to 8 weeks, or anything in between. What we are learning, and I'm pretty new at OLLI still, I've been here about 6 months, 7 months now, I guess. It's really hard for folks to commit to an 8-week class because you're busy, you're traveling, you're with family. So we're looking more at those 4-week classes for our more long-term options, long-term in quotes. And then we have lots of options you can do for short courses too, so think about that. but there is something magical that happens when a true expert in their field shares about what they're most pumped about with their work. So I think that you've got to think about that. Like, what is most exciting to you about the work you did? What's most exciting to you about that you could share with OLLI? So, because there's such an energy in the room when somebody who's an expert in their field shares about that and people get excited. So think about teaching with us. It's really lovely. Once you join us, you'll be hooked. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this slide. I've completely broken the rules of slide design, and I apologize for that. But I have to share some highlights of the spring session for you. So we have our Great Decisions class. Have any of you ever taken the Great Decisions course before or heard about it from friends? It is designed from the National Policy Institute. They put out topics every year. They give a guidebook. They do videos that we can watch together. But the most important thing is it's these critical international topics that we're going to chew on together. Dr. Pam Brown has been leading that. She does that every fall now. And the amazing thing about that is that we bring in an expert every single time. So Dr. Randy Kluver with the School of Global Studies is going to come in and talk about U.S.-China relations. Meredith Woodruff came in and talked about lots of gritty topics with us during that session. And then you're going to have Nani Pybus talking about her experiences, not just on campus, which were incredible, but she was a foreign services officer. And so she drew from that experience and talked about her work. We had experts on NATO. We had all kinds of things with that. And the thing about those class sessions is that people want to stay. The conversation is so rich that people don't want to leave when it's over. Like, people follow each other out the door, asking more questions. Can we do this again? Please bring Nani back, etc. So you just can't get enough of OLLI once you're in there. We have, as you can see from this list, and I'm not going to talk about each of these, obviously, but we have things like glass blowing. We have a ukulele class if you want to learn the ukulele. Pam Brown and Kami Coots teach that. If you have heard of the Misspent Ukes, they are experts in all things ukulele, and they teach a class with us. You can be intermediate, you can be a true beginner. They will lend you a ukulele, okay? So think about things like that. We have Dr. Martin Brennan coming in this spring to talk about U.S. relations with Latin America. Pretty hot topic right now, I would say, as we look at some of the rhetoric around Latin America. So consider joining us for that. That'll be a great few weeks as well. If you're interested in Meredith's class, you'll probably enjoy Martin's as well. We have a class on the Holocaust in Tulsa that is well worth going over for a few weeks. We're going to visit the Sherwood Miller Museum. We're going to go to a library there in Tulsa where they have an exhibit on Americans in the Holocaust and their role at that time and how those interactions took place. Really important opportunity to learn. We also have an online class from Irv Lubliner, whose mother is a survivor of the Holocaust, and he writes and speaks about her experience, and that's just a single session online. So that's an incredible opportunity. And then we have things like the zoo hospital tour. I don't know if everybody knows this, but Oklahoma City has a world-class animal hospital. Who knew? I had no idea. Not only did they get to meet the baby elephant, which is a pretty incredible experience on its own, but they learned about the research they're doing on elephant HPV and all these like sort of cutting edge things in the Oklahoma City Zoo. So you just never know what to find. We have a class coming up soon that I'm working with Dr. Shanidra Nowell to schedule on the Tulsa Race Massacre and helping folks learn more about that really painful event in our state's history. So we are all over the place on our classes. I'm telling you, there's something for you. A couple other things I want to mention on campus. Dr. John Ramsey is now kind of leading the Ideal Student Initiative. You may or may not have heard of that, but that's a big push as we think about what a graduate from Oklahoma State, what skills we want them to have, who we want them not to be in terms of like their personality, their perspectives, but what, I guess you could, for lack of a better way to put it, what soft skills do we want to make sure somebody who graduates from our programs, what do we need them to be able to do and how to navigate the world, right? How can they successfully interact with people with different perspectives? How can they be open to learning about things and stay true to who they are? Basically, it's kind of adulting 101, right? but on a much more complex and deep thinking scale than that. So he's going to talk to us about that. And then Dr. Ken Sewell is going to come give, at one of our last town halls this spring, Ken is going to come and talk with us, VP for Research. He's going to come visit with us about kind of the state of the university and how research is going right now. There have been some funding changes, there have been some challenges, but we're still doing really great work, and we're excited to learn about what's happening across programs there. So that should be a great session. And then Leon Jones this summer, or Chief Jones, if you know him from campus, such a great fella, first of all, but also an incredible speaker, and that's going to be a chance to learn about his recent book. Speaking of recent books, Pat Razuk is on my list to bring in soon after we talked with him last time. So, but yeah, there's tons and tons of opportunities. Stillwater Medical, y'all, this class on aging intentionally, and I'm looking over here at my friend Joe, who works really hard to make that accessible for us. It is difficult for these folks to get out of clinic. Show up for them. This class is going to be incredible. We're working with Danette Music and Justin Beatles, and this class is all about aging with intention, which is something we all want to think about. We all want to do that in the way that's meaningful for us. As I mentioned, I lost my mom this last summer, and there's something sacred about going out the way you want to, and doing that at home, or doing that in the way that is personally meaningful for you with your family. So everything from that very last decision all the way up to how we want to live our lives while we still have lots of energy and feel great. That's really lovely. So I'm excited about that class and looking forward to it. Yeah. Dr. Rick Moore, y'all, if you don't know how the MAPS project came to be, this is worth driving to Oklahoma City for this class. Rick Moore, first of all, just won the South Oklahoma City Chamber Award for Citizen of the Year. He's an incredible human being, just a delight. I've been friends with him for about, 15 years now. But he worked for Mickey Edwards in the US Congress. He was, he worked with Mayor Norick. He coined the term MAPS. He is Mr. MAPS. Okay, if you want to know about how great civic governance can happen, Rick is your guy. He is so smart, so lovely, does tons of cross-partisan work, a really lovely example of how good governance can happen, especially at the local level. That's one that's going to be an absolute joy. So well worth the drive down there, and I'm going to try to get Rick in Stillwater soon, too. Joe Dorman, many of you probably know Joe. Fabulous former legislator in Oklahoma, an incredible advocate, okay? This guy can teach anybody how to read a bill effectively and say, here's how you're going to approach your congressperson. Here's how you're going to effectively advocate around this issue that matters for you, okay? Joe was a rock star, and again, just one of the nicest guys you'll ever encounter. So that class is on literally just how to break down a bill, make your voice heard. That one's going to be a blast in Oklahoma City. Matt Sullins is going to come do a brewery class for us and a beer tasting. Again, we'll make lots of friends. Come join us. And that one's going to happen here in Stillwater. Yes, absolutely. And you'll see a theme here. Like, we also bring in people we enjoy working with, because I think the most important central thing about OLLI is that it's a community, okay? OLLI is, absolutely, we're picking things that we want to learn about, but this is a place to learn with people who have common interests, and we're always going to be there to support each other and care for one another, and it's just an absolute delight to hang out with this crowd. Some of the smartest people you'll ever encounter, tons of emeriti faculty, every walk of life, every background, but we all come together and learn really awesome things together. So OLLI is the absolute best. We have music classes, arts. Steve McKeever did a class in the fall on Hiroshima and Fukushima as a radiation expert. I don't know if y'all know that about Steve, but he is a freaking rock star. We have these folks in our midst, and this is a place that we get to make their voices heard, and it's so very cool. We'll visit the Museum of Osteology this summer. We have movement-focused classes. We have Wudang Tai Yi, which is also called Swimming Dragon Fist. I'm learning a lot as part of OLLI. This is a form of similar to Tai Chi. That class is going to be this spring, 2 mornings a week. It'll be super cool. We already have about 10 people enrolled in that, and we have a little bit more room if you want to jump into that. We have yoga off and on. This spring, we have Stay Strong, Stay Healthy starting. That's a program that Sean Allen does, who's in his program just left me. Who knows Sean Allen's program? He's in strength training, that kind of stuff. Anyway, don't tell Sean, I couldn't think of the program he's in. But anyway, so we're going to do strength training twice a week in the mornings. And so if you want to just come work out where you're not surrounded by a bunch of 19-year-olds, that's a really fun place to work too. I made the mistake of signing up for an abs course and a weight training class about 2 months after I had my first baby. Ooh, big mistake. Okay. I was in the Colvin trying to do sit-ups with, I was 28 at the time, and everybody else in the class was 18, 19. I think there was one 20-year-old. I did not go back to the abs class, I'm just going to tell you. But this is a great place. This class is focused on folks who are 50 plus, but again, any adult can join us. So that's a really incredible opportunity at basically no cost. Even for our a la carte members, it's $50 for a 24-week class, y'all. So pretty fabulous. Let's see what else we've got here. Amateur ham radio, mahjong, book clubs, anthropology. Stephen Perkins has been with us off and on over the years. Cults and conspiracies. Y'all, Dr. Farron is one of those instructors that people go, get him back anytime you can. He is so much fun. He's just an absolute blast. So if you've ever needed to know about cults and conspiracies, he's your guy. We will have him back. He taught in the fall, and he is hilarious and high energy and just a really fun person to hang around with. So that is a tiny sampling of what we have going on at OLLI, okay? But I have to mention, I'm going to jump into a couple other things here. Let me see. Nope, I'm going to go back. Because one thing I didn't talk about yet is Meredith Woodruff. I'm so bummed she's not here today. She has a class on her experience with the CIA and current events and all kinds of things. If you have not heard Meredith tell stories, you are missing out, okay? It's 3 weeks this spring. We have one in Stillwater, one in Tulsa, and we just moved the Stillwater one because it's almost full. So if you haven't signed up, do it before you leave today. We have room for about 80 people in that class, and it's almost full. So, and that's just the Stillwater section. The Tulsa has room for 50, and it's almost full too. And then we're going to live stream the Stillwater one. So if you want to enroll in Meredith's class, you can watch it online if you can't get there in person. It's going to be standing room only. But that tracks because it's Meredith, and she has incredible experiences. I had to miss her great decision session, and I was so mad I had a conference that day. But they said the conversation was just so incredible. So you're going to want to jump in there. You'll have serious fear of missing out if you miss Meredith's class. That's just a fact. Okay, so a few things we're working on. We're going to have a Lunch and Learn series once a month in the fall on campus. Again, just a different focus every time. We're going to make ourselves more accessible to folks who are still working to try to bring in mid-career people, make OLLI a more multi-generational opportunity for learning. Number one, I think that enriches conversation. Number two, OLLI has shrunk a little bit since COVID. COVID hit OLLI's really hard. So I've been here about 6 months, and at one point, OLLI at OSU had 1,000 people. When I started, we had 400. We're going to be at 500 by the time this year's done. But I need your help with that. So help us spread the word, and we're eventually going to get back to well over 1,000, but we need your help spreading the word on that. So think about talking to friends and family about OLLI and join us yourself, okay? We're going to have some peer-led learning opportunities. This is a new push from OLLI National. So this is going to be on things like you take a piece of media and a different person leads the discussion every time. So we're going to do the American Revolution. Seems like a good time at the 250th anniversary of our nation. We're going to look at Ken Burns' American Revolution, and each person will lead the discussion on that every time, so that'll be super fun. And then there's a podcast coming out called Burn Order about Japanese internment camps. And so we'll be having a different person lead the conversation on that each time. We'll probably start both of those in the fall, and we'll have a little bit of peer-led learning this summer too. And then we have also volunteer opportunities. We need your help spreading the word about OLLI. It is such an absolute blast. So if you've ever taken a class with us, talk to me about how you can get involved in that. But we're starting a faculty fellows program. One of our big pushes for members is making sure that we can get people who are currently on campus to teach with us, and that means money. We got to make sure that we compensate faculty for teaching with us. Their schedules are incredibly busy, workloads have grown, so we're going to make sure that we provide them a stipend structured a lot like the Honors College does for overload. So we'll be fundraising around that, but I also need your support sharing with faculty who are still on campus, saying, let's make sure that you teach with OLLI, they'll get you a stipend. We're piloting in the fall, and we'll expand that from there. So let's see what else. We have a 20th anniversary dinner on August 30th. Save the date for that. And then again, I think we think about the cognitive benefits, and I'm almost done. We think about the cognitive benefits of learning in lifelong learning settings. We don't think about how the fact that that's really important for our souls too. We are wired to keep learning. That's what human beings need. So come join us. You're not just gonna have fun learning, you're gonna be part of a community, you're gonna fall in love with OLLI, just like I did. So that's it, that's what I got. Yeah.
Would you please remind what the schedule is currently for enrolling?
Yeah, absolutely. So our classes start February, they would have started February 16th, but most of our facilities, we have classes in the public library and the community center here in town. We don't want people to park and walk across campus. So they would have started February 16th. They're going to start February 17th because of the fact that those places are closed for President's Day. So very soon. So get enrolled. You can go to olli.okstate.edu and click enroll in classes to get signed up. Yeah.
And it's any age adult?
Any adult,
'Kay.
absolutely. And I don't anticipate we have 50 undergrads in a class next week, but they could if they wanted to. So most of them, yeah.